We say it all the time. Visit my website. Check their website. What's the website? It's such a normal word now that we rarely stop to think about it, but if you pause for a second, it sounds a little strange. A web? A site? Are we talking about spiders? Construction zones? What exactly is a website? And why was that the word chosen for something as invisible and digital as a page on the internet? Today we're diving into the surprisingly fascinating history behind why is it called a website. Because like many everyday terms, website wasn't randomly invented. It came from a specific moment in history when the internet was brand new, confusing, and desperately needed metaphors people could understand. So let's get into it, right here, on History of Simple Things. The word web comes directly from the World Wide Web, often shortened to the web. And that term wasn't poetic fluff. It was actually a pretty accurate description of how the system works. In 1989, a British computer scientist named Tim Berners-Lee proposed a way to connect and share documents across different computers using hyperlinks. The idea was that information wouldn't be stored in one straight line like a book. Instead, it would be connected in all directions. One document could link to another, which linked to another, forming a giant network. Picture a spider's web. Every thread connects to another thread. You can start at one point and travel in multiple directions. That's how Berners-Lee envisioned this new system of linked information. So the name World Wide Web stuck. It described a massive, interconnected structure of information that stretched across the globe. And if the whole thing was a web, then individual pieces inside it needed names too. That's where site comes in. The word site is older and much more physical. In the real world, a site is a location, a construction site, a campsite, a historic site. It's simply a place where something exists or happens. In the early 1990s, as the web began expanding beyond research institutions and into public use, people needed a way to describe specific locations within this new digital space. Each collection of linked web pages, stored under a single domain name, felt like its own destination. So what do you call a destination on the web? A site. The term made intuitive sense. You weren't just reading random files, you were going somewhere. You could visit it. You could return to it. You could bookmark it and come back later. Combine the two words, web and site, and you get website, a specific location on the World Wide Web. It was simple, practical, and easy to understand. And that was exactly what the early internet needed. In the early days of the internet, most people had no idea how networks worked. Terms like hypertext, protocol, and server architecture weren't exactly friendly. So designers and engineers relied heavily on metaphors from the physical world. You had a home page. You could visit a site. You could navigate using a browser. And you could go back or go forward. Even the software used to access websites was called a browser, suggesting you were casually flipping through something, like magazines in a bookstore. One of the earliest and most influential browsers was Mosaic, released in 1993. Mosaic helped popularize the web by making it visual and user-friendly. Suddenly, people weren't just typing commands, they were clicking links. And when people started clicking around, they needed mental maps. Calling something a site made it feel grounded. It gave the abstract structure of the internet a sense of geography. Without these metaphors, the internet might have felt too technical and intimidating for everyday users. Interestingly, in the earliest days of the web, people didn't immediately say, website. The phrase website was often written as two separate words. Over time, it merged into one. By the mid to late 1990s, as companies rushed to establish their presence online, the term became mainstream. Businesses proudly announced, "Visit our website at..." It was printed on business cards, TV commercials, and billboards. The internet was no longer just for researchers and universities. It was commercial, social, and rapidly expanding. As the web matured, the language matured with it. Website eventually became standardized as website, just like email slowly turned into email. Language adapts. When a word becomes common enough, it simplifies. Imagine if we called them web documents or network nodes. Technically accurate? Maybe. Catchy? Not at all. Website worked because it balanced technical meaning with everyday familiarity. Web captured the interconnected nature. Site gave it a sense of location. Together, they created a word that was descriptive but not overwhelming. It's also worth noting that the web itself runs on the internet, but the two aren't the same thing. The internet is the infrastructure. Cables, servers, routers. The web is one service that runs on top of it. But because the web became the most visible and user-friendly part of the internet, its terminology dominated public language. So instead of saying internet location, we say website. So why is it called a website? Because when the World Wide Web was born, people needed a way to describe individual destinations within this vast digital network. Web described the interconnected structure. Site described a specific place within it. The term was practical, it was intuitive, and it helped millions of people make sense of something entirely new. It's easy to forget that every digital word we use today, browser, homepage, link, website, was invented by someone trying to make the invisible understandable. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.